our belief is that the future of automation is cloud delivered. DIY automation is actually not sustainable. Um, and time is now for many of the operators to actually jump onto this cloud delivered automation bandwagon and take leadership in your markets. And we have enough data as well as studies done on SaaS versus DIY. For many people who say, well, SaaS is more expensive, actually it's 40% cheaper because now there's no overhead of managing the infrastructure, of continuously like training the people, having the whole time spent in managing the infrastructure rather than focusing on the business needs. It's much faster, right? 50% reduction in the time to deploy. So in fact, we're talking weeks and days. You basically have a login to a system and you go. It's switched on the very same day, as compared to many times months to even set up the whole infrastructure even before you start validating the applications. And what's even better is once you've got started, introducing new innovation and new problems and use cases that automation can solve, that's much faster, 70% faster in fact. And above all, the way at least we think about SaaS is for the Gen Zs with an easy button. And in fact, one important point I want to make is we talk about AI ops and we've seen what an important role it has to play in sustainability. AI ops, it must be cloud delivered, because in order to build and train models that actually solve problems, you need data at scale. And of course, this is anonymized data, meeting all the kind of guidelines of different countries. But AI ops doing that in a completely DIY in a small network will never deliver that kind of outcomes that you intend for AI ops to do. And this is about collective innovation, right? Because you have one problem. Let's say somebody had optical failure issues that were happening in one network in North America, and there was a model built to figure out why that happened and how that needs to be fixed, as well as to predict that same problem in another network. You will benefit from that because now the system can already spot a similar issue and preempt the resolution, right? So this is really also for Juniper. This is something that we invest in heavily, and we already are a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for AI Ops, particularly for our wireless LAN solutions. And we have seen the success and the value AI cloud delivered AI Ops creates for its customers, and we are bringing the same to WAN networks. And this is not just Juniper talking about, cloud delivered automation. Actually, the market readiness for cloud is growing. Again, with this heavy reading survey, we have seen that 61% of the CSPs do want cloud-based automation systems for their transport networks. And if you actually look at the bigger gamut of the automation tools across the BSS OSS landscape, 82% have already migrated or plan to migrate these apps to SaaS. And again, our market is telling us there is a variation, a degree of tolerance, which applications should be cloud, which ones not. For example, anything that sits in the data path or has a direct control of a packet, that maybe they are less open to it. However, anything that has observability, just managing the network, providing oversight, right? All of that they are willing to consume from the cloud. So we are really seeing, early adopters starting right now. And for those reasons, we are very excited about the launch that we just had in July. So what we launched in July is Paragon as a service, and big tenets of what's new. One, that entire Paragon solution across the full life cycle of WAN, we're basically turning it into a use case based approach, which means it starts with one customer saying, I only want to solve the problem of onboarding. Think of a metro, somebody who is buying a cloud metro and has thousands of these small boxes that you talked about, and he really wants to just onboard them and bring them to life in 10 days. It's actually possible, at least from an automation perspective. It is, assuming all the field guys do their job. you can just start with that one use case. You don't have to boil the ocean, which is very different from the approach how DIY systems are, right? They're fancy frameworks and that take very long, right? Like they're trying to do everything in the entire picture. Here you can start small but go fast. Two, it is AI enabled. In our infrastructure, we will have the entire AI ops libraries as well as models built in for Paragon as a service. And the other two things that we are launching is also embedded trust and embedded assurance. And I'll talk about those in just a bit. But above all, let me give you just one example of onboarding like I talked about, right? In a typical today's networks, when a box has arrived onto the field, it's typically a field technician who will take that box, who will go to the site, who will rack, stack, power, cable it. Then he's got to log into CLI, download some configs. And we surveyed our customers how long and how easy it is for them to onboard. And they told us that 85% of them said it takes them more than 2 days for one device to actually come to service. It is not error-free in the first go. There are tons of errors. And if you add all of that up, the onboarding time is even higher. And above all, they need actually very, very skilled people to go there and do this. So we wanted to take that problem and actually simplify that in the cloud way. So in our solution, what we do, and this is just one example of Paragon Cloud as a service, by the way, right? What we do is at the heart, we have something called this device ID that's embedded into these the chipset of the router, which gives it an identity, right? That allows you to determine its genuine hardware. That is where that happens at the manufacturing. Now, a customer has ordered an ACX, it gets delivered, it comes with a barcode. Here comes a field technician. All he needs to do is scan this barcode after he has kind of racked it and powered it on. He scans the barcode, and there it will open up actual guide for this particular field technician to make sure that he plugs the right cable into the right port, right? This is all about getting it right the first time, having zero errors, right? And it will even check if these cables, not only if it's a wrong cable, it will tell the engineer right then to change it. It will also be able to determine a bad cable. It may be a right cable, but it may not, it may be silently dropping a few packets, right? So it will run some tests at that very moment to determine, and that is actually an AI use case. And basically the Paragon Cloud takes over and, it starts by checking, is it authentic hardware and, Juniper hardware. Then it will push an image upgrade. It will push the configs on it. It will check if the device is healthy. Then it will actually run some real ping tests. It will ping to the next router, ping to, a point anywhere in the cloud. And finally, it will, after 5 minutes, all of this is happening and the field technician is pretty much just watching and having a cup of coffee. And then he gets, a message that you can leave the site. And all this while, the NOC operator has oversight on how this onboarding has happened, right? So this is the way we kind of reimagine the whole experience, right? This is about time to first outcomes, speed. This is about having no overheads. As soon as you have a box, you can scan and you can, just have Paragon Cloud login and you're good to go, right? This is the easy button that we believe is the way of the future. Apart from that, we are also introducing, some other solutions. The one that I am really excited about is this idea of the embedded active assurance sensor. And active assurance is where we have active data plane measurements from layer 2 to layer 7 to kind of monitor the service quality at any given point of time, right? Like we said, the experiences are very important. Now what we're doing is we're taking these test agents and embedding them into the box, which basically means your entire network is an assurance sensor. At any given point of time, you can, through the network, run a ping test from A link to point A to point B, or from the edge to the cloud, or so on and so forth, right? Or even monitor a specific service like a Netflix. So that we believe is something really powerful, and it is critical for, particularly for the metro. If you go to the next slide. Security is equally important, and that is why we are building in zero trust security into our platforms. And I think I briefly talked about it, where these platforms are going to come with an embedded TPM 2.0 chip that allows you to define a unique identity. And then with the control layer software, right, with Paragon, we have a software application that is able to read into this and allow a customer to be assured that this is indeed genuine hardware. We actually take it a step further. We not only validate, authenticate the hardware, but we also look at the right software versions. Is it, is it authentic software? Is it compliant, or all the certs being met in that version, and so on and so forth. So that is, again, an intrinsic built-in security coupled with over the off-box capabilities in order to ensure that you always can trust your devices across your network.